Good afternoon to all of you, my fellow Bosconians. You can call me Ate Marge. Today, I will be sharing with you why it is important to choose godly friendships. But first, let me give you a little background about myself. I came from a family of Bosconians. My dad and uncles are Bosconians. My siblings and my cousins are also Bosconians. I moved here in Vancouver, Canada, with my family when I was 12 years old. So that was after I graduated from grade 6. So I have been living here for 22 years already. If I finished high school there in DBS, I would have belonged to the batch 2004. Yes, I still speak Tagalog fluently, as you notice from my accent, as that is the language we use here at home. I remember my parents telling me when we moved here, sabi nila, magtatagalog tayo sa bahay para hindi mo makalimutan. So what do I do for a living? Well, I'm a real-life Darna. I save lives. Just kidding. I took up nursing as my bachelor's degree, and I have been working as a registered nurse for 10 years. And because I love to act, I have been going back and forth to the Philippines to continue pursuing my passion in acting in film and TV. You might be wondering what my experience was when I was a student in DBS. Well, I was the shy and quiet type of student. Yung tipong kapag may question yung teacher, I know the answer. Tapos mahiya ako mag-raise ng hand. Ganito pa yan eh. Ganyan, di ba? Tapos biglang, wala na, hindi na ako mag-raise ng hand kasi bigla ako nahiya. Ganon. And then I was a member of the Laura Vicuña Club for 3 years, from grade 3 to grade 5. And then in grade 6, that was when I discovered na may talent pala ako sa pag-iinarte, in acting, I mean. So I joined the Speech and Drama Club. One of the memorable times I had in DBS was when we had our SYM overnights, the Salesian Youth Movement overnights, in school. I remember getting excited about wearing casual clothes. We don't have to wear uniforms. And one of my favorite subjects naman back then was actually music. Why? Because that was the only time I got 100 over 100 in my exam. And I was chosen as one of the students to play the song Tanging Yaman using the flute. So now let's go back to our topic as to why it is important to choose godly friendships. So before we moved here in Canada, I remember my parents and relatives telling me, choose your friends wisely. Noong una, hindi ko magets kung anong ibig sabihin nun. So I will share with you 2 particular experiences that happened in my life where I was able to understand the meaning of choose your friends wisely. So the first example that I have is when I started grade 8 here in Canada. Well, I didn't have to go through grade 7 anymore. I told my school, like, I don't want to be in elementary again. So I started grade 8 here. And then the second example that I have is when I started visiting the Philippines again every year. I was so excited to move here in Canada. I've always dreamed of living in a cold country where here we only get 3 weeks of summer, really. That's yun lang yung 3 weeks lang mainit and the rest are always cold. I did not feel homesick at all when I came here because I was really excited. So my school setting was similar to what you see in the movies. We had our own lockers, we don't have uniforms, and we had different classrooms for different subjects. But, coming from a Catholic school and being a 12-year-old child at that time, I found it very challenging to apply what I learned in DBS, in elementary, which was the subject Christian Living Education, or CLE. Because Canada is a secular country. Secular meaning hindi lahat ng tao ay Catholics, I have friends with different spiritual and religious backgrounds. Some don't even believe in God at all. And as a child, that was surprising to me. Canada is also a multicultural country. Parang nagpo-promote na akong Canada. This is a multicultural country, meaning I had classmates and I have friends from all over the world. But even if that was the case, I did not feel culture shocked. Hindi ako na culture shocked. Nabigla lang ako na they don't believe in God. So I was accepting of the things that I was seeing, but what I could not accept was this. I was shocked when I saw my 13, 14 years old classmates. They were wearing heavy makeup every day in school. Like, are we in a modeling show here? Rarampa ka ba? You know, sali ka sa Miss Universe? Like, I don't know. Really, because that's an effort to wear makeup every day. Mag-aaral ka lang naman. And so, yeah, and I also saw very young couples were kissing inside the school grounds. Proud na proud pa na dun mismo sa gitna ng hallway naghahalikan. That kind of thing. And it was considered cool kapag nagmumura sila. With every sentence they said, they were doing drugs. And it was cool for them to give away their purity of mind, heart, and soul at a very young age. And they were very proud of it. And a lot of young people were using the name of God in vain. And I've always known, you know, using the expression, oh my, is not correct. Now, those were the reality I saw 22 years ago. But sadly, that is still happening today. There were a lot of times when I felt out of place because my classmates always saw me wear a miraculous medal necklace. And they always saw me pray before I eat lunch. I remember someone asked me, she said, I see you always pray. Like, did you want to become a nun in the future? And I was like, grabe naman sis. Ganun agad. Hindi ba pwedeng madasalin lang talaga ako? You know, try mo baka maging santo ka pa. Diba? So, yeah, so every time I witnessed something so ungodly, meaning hindi maka-Diyos, the words, choose your friends wisely, was echoing in my mind. And that really stuck with me. And so I did not imitate what my classmates were doing. So my next example is, I want to share with you my experience every time I visit the Philippines. The ironic thing is that I did not really know what culture shock really meant until I came back to the Philippines for a vacation. So every time I go there, I kept reconnecting with some of my childhood friends. And as my circle of friends kept growing, I also kept seeing the same pattern. And based on my observations, my former friends in the Philippines love to get drunk. They love to talk about ungodly subjects proudly. Topics such as related to impurity of body and mind. They cursed and said bad words a lot. They were so proud of being a member of immoral fraternity groups and talked about topics na walang katuturan. It was just full of non-intellectual conversations. They told stories about how they misused and abused their free will. And sadly, ang madalas nilang sinasabi sa akin noon was, okay lang yung gawin niyang kasalanan na yan. Kasi normal na yun eh, nowadays. You know, masyado kang makalumang mag-isip. Yun. I've encountered some Bosconians who were no longer practicing Catholics, and that was just very, very sad. They said they're proud to be Bosconians, but their actions do not reflect their words. I did not see their genuine love for God in their words and actions. Many times I felt very uncomfortable and out of place, to the point where I questioned myself if they were still aware of the sense of sin. Meaning, do they still know what is really right and really wrong in the eyes of God? And I use the word really kasi maraming kabataan na ang pag-intindi nila sa mali ay nagiging tama. So bumabaliktad yung thinking nila. But here's the thing though, don't get me wrong. No one is created as a bad person, okay? God never creates anything bad. It's just that some people choose to do evil things. So during that time, I experienced peer pressure. And as a result, I became bad myself. I became blind to who I truly was. I compromised some Christian morals and values. Ginaya ko yung mga ginagawa nilang makasalanan dahil inisip ko na Kung hindi ako maging katulad nila na corrupted ang takbo ng pag-iisip at distorted ang reasoning, baka hindi na nila ako tanggapin as their friend. Naisip ko baka sabihin nila napaka-KJ ko, or yung sinabi ko kanina na makalumang mag-isip, di ba? But, during the time that I was imitating their bad actions, I felt in my heart, deep in my heart, that I was not being true to myself. I felt so fake. I felt like I was pretending to be somebody else. And most of all, pinakamasakit doon was that I felt that I was hurting God through my bad choices and actions. So finally, after some time of hanging out with the wrong people, you know what happened? God taught me a lesson the hard way. He made a way to finally remove me from such a dirty and sinful environment. So those former friends betrayed me, humiliated me, they abandoned me, and they broke my trust. Those people turned out to be what you call wolves in sheep's clothing, which means hindi sila totoong kaibigan. During that time, I realized two important sayings. The first one is, birds of the same feather flock together. Meaning, nagsasama-sama yung mga taong may pare-pareho ng pag-uugali. And the second important saying is, show me your friends and I will show you your future. Meaning, if you have friends who are a bad influence to you right now, soon enough, hindi mo na mamamalayan, you will also be a bad influence to others in the future. And you know what Jesus did to me when he took those fake friends away from me? Jesus opened my eyes and showed me who my genuine and godly friends are. Doon ko naintindihan din ang tunay na ibig sabihin ng choose your friends wisely. That they're supposed to be genuine and godly. And what I did was, I kept my circle of friends small and genuine. So remember this, guys. Quality over quantity. Mas importante ang quality friends kesa gaano karami. Hindi importante na marami kang kaibigan kung lahat naman sila ay fake. Ang importante, you have the right people in your life. So let me share with you two Bible quotes. So the first one is in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 33, and I quote, "Do not be deceived, bad company ruins good morals," end quote. And that's pretty self-explanatory. The second Bible quote that I'm going to share with you is from Proverbs chapter 13, verse 20, and I quote, "Walk with the wise and become wise. Associate with fools and get in trouble," end of quote. So again, that's self-explanatory. You're going to get in trouble if you hang out with the wrong people. And so my experiences opened my eyes to the bad things that are happening in our youth today that I thought I was missing out from, but I was truly not. When God removed them from my life was transformed. I was slowly becoming a better person and a better Catholic. I've been wanting to study more about God kasi nakita ko na yung bad side, dark side of life. And I was like, I don't want to live that way. So I'd rather learn more about God than disobey and betray Him, So binalikan ko lahat ng mga natutunan ko from my parents and from the Bosco school. I became a prayerful person again. I realized that my time spent in character development and building my relationship with God will never be a time wasted. Hindi masasayang ang oras mo when you're learning more about God and when you are talking to Him. So how am I progressing with choosing godly friendships? Well, 3 years ago, I did myself a huge favor by making the conscious effort to really remove on social media and stay away from people who are not good for me and will not bring me closer to Jesus. So lahat ng mga friends ko sa Facebook at sa kung saan pang social media platform na sabi ko, mukhang hindi to good influence. Ay, tama na, delete na, wala na yun. And so now that I am woke, nagpray ako kay God. Sabi ko sa kanya, God, please, bigyan niyo po ako ng mga new friends. But this time, I am requesting for godly friends. Yung mga katulad niyo, yung mga katulad ni Mama Mary, yung mga katulad ng ugali ni Mama Mary, and mga katulad ng mga ugali ng saints. And ang bilis mag-respond ni God sa prayers ko. Natupad agad. Kung 100 fake friends yung mga inalis ni God sa buhay ko, pinalitan niya ng double, triple the size of real friends at this time. So God gave me new friends in a Catholic group that I'm a part of for 4 years now. It is called the Brotherhood of Christian Businessmen and Professionals. I'm not trying to promote the group. I'm just saying that I found new friends, real friends there. And ever since I joined, I have been sharing my testimony nationwide and also here in Canada. And I'm always so happy and grateful for being able to share my experiences to others and to you guys, because this is my way of serving God and saying thank you to Him for helping me become a better person and a better Catholic. So now I have 5 important lessons to share with you guys. So ngayon, real talk tayo, guys, okay? I'm gonna ask you a question. What is the most important subject in Don Bosco School? Is it math? Is it science? Is it English? It's none of the above, guys. The most important subject is Christian living education. Hindi lahat ng schools nagtuturo ng Christian living education. When I started grade 8 until I finished my degree, I did not learn anything about God. That was not included in our curriculum. So this is the most important because you will learn many life lessons that you're going to need now and for the rest of your life. That is your moral compass. You will learn how to take care of your soul the right way. And you will learn how to love God correctly. So you need to realize that if you're taking care of your health, you're taking care of your mind, your mental health, you're taking care of your body, you must never forget to also take care of your soul. Because if you don't take care of your soul, then how are you going to able to live life the godly way? Okay, let me ask you this. Sino mga plantitos dito? What do you do to keep your plants alive? You water them, right? You put them under the sun for several hours. And that's the same thing that you need to do for your soul. You need to water your soul every day. And how are you going to do that? Number 1, you're gonna talk to God every day. Katulad ng pakikipag-usap mo sa mga friends mo, di ba? Ika nga, sabi sa song natin sa school, Jesus my friend, a man yet a God, He is my friend. That's actually one of my favorite songs. Ano pa? Jesus my friend, you are a friend to me in sadness, joys, you stay so close to me. Parang na akong kumakan, nagrarap. But anyway, number 2, you pray the rosary. You know, Mama Mary is the best mother of all. Run to her and tell her everything. She's going to listen to you. She's always ready to listen to you. And number 3, kaibiganin niyo yung mga saints. Ask them to pray for you. Okay, number 2, obey God. You need to obey God's commandments. I'm sure na pag-aralan niyo yung 10 commandments in school, right? Do you put your learnings into practice? Do you apply that in your everyday life? You know, I remember memorizing the 10 commandments when I was in grade 3. And I was struggling because I was just memorizing that word for word, but to know the meaning of all of them, I had no idea. Until obviously I grew up and I saw things around me and I was like, oh, okay, this is the 10 commandments pala. It's happening around me, right? So because it doesn't matter how much time you put into memorizing the 10 commandments para lang makapasa kayo sa CLE. If you're not going to put them into practice, your knowledge is useless. Nabubulok lang yan sa isip nyo. So obeying God means that you love Him. Diba? And how else are you going to obey God? By obeying your parents and your guardians. Sa mga sinasabi nila, hindi nila kayo pinapahamak. They're actually helping you to become a better person when you grow up. So my third advice for you guys is, please, guys, don't join ungodly groups or clubs. That's not going to make God happy. What I mean by ungodly groups or clubs, groups like fraternities. Yung tipong masasaktan ka muna bago ka maging member. That's not loving. That's not Christ-like. If you compare Jesus' apostles and disciples, how did they become Jesus' apostles and disciples? May sakitan bang nangyari? Did Jesus have to punish them para to become an apostle, to become a disciple? Walang ganon nangyari. And, you know, I encourage you to join groups like what I joined, the BCBP, or whatever you find, the feast, maybe. No, hindi yung mga puro kamunduhan lang na groups, yung puro yabang lang ang pinapakita. I'll give you an example. I saw a video on YouTube. There's this fraternity group and merong mga sexy dancers na sumasayaw during their reunion. Is that godly? Is that acceptable in the eyes of God? So that's what I mean by ungodly groups and clubs. Don't join those things, okay? So for my fourth advice, there will come a time in your life na bubuhos ang maraming temptations. You will have friends that will tell you, maging open-minded ka naman. You know, maraming taong gumagawa ng kasalanan na to. Masyado ka naman close-minded. Anong year ka ba nabubuhay ngayon? Basta, buksan mo lang yung isip mo and do that. So if your friends tell you to be open-minded to sin, no, they're not your real friends. Huwag kayong maging open-minded sa kasalanan, especially of the sins of the flesh. I'll tell you what Our Lady of Fatima in the year 1917 said to three little children, Jacinta, Francisco, and Lucia. And mind you, these children were just 7 to 10 years old. So Mama Mary told them, and I quote, "More souls go to hell because of the sins of the flesh than for any other reason." End of quote. So I'll give you a little assignment, you know, and you can search everything online anyway. Search nyo kung anong meaning ng sins of the flesh. And I tell you, please stay away from that. Last but not the least, my fifth advice. So how do you choose godly friends then? What are the good characteristics of a real friend? So you observe your friend. You see if your friend is a godly person, honest, trustworthy, kind, generous, and most importantly, see if that person is practicing humility. Okay? You need to look into their morals and see how they're living. Do they follow the Christian morals and correct values? Yung mga ginagawa ba nila maka-Diyos, or on the other side, you know? So, for example, if your friend wants to go to hell, sasama ka ba? What does that look like in real life? If your friend tells you to cheat on your exam or manloko ng ibang tao, are you going to do it as well? So you got to think before you act. Do your friends have similarities with that of the saints? You know, I'll share with you my favorite saints. Obviously, the first one is Saint John Bosco. I admire him for his ability to teach and to lead the younger generation. Blessed Laura Vicuña. I admire her for her humility and simplicity and her ability to forgive others. Saint Dominic Savio. I always remember his motto, you know, death rather than sin. You know, as a 15-year-old to be able to think like that, like, wow. There's another one, Saint Therese de Lisieux. I admire her for her childlike faith. Saint Ignatius of Loyola, being a soldier of Christ. Saint Padre Pio, I love how he promotes the rosary often. Saint Pope John Paul II, I admire him for his leadership skills, for being a great servant leader, and not just that, a transformational leader. And of course, si Mama Mary, I admire her for her purity and obedience to God. And of course, how great of a mother she is to all of us. So you need to identify who your favorite saints are. Make the saints your role model. Read about them, watch their movies on YouTube. It's free. So ngayong summer, what you can do, watch the movies of the saints, the lives of the saints. And lalo na ngayong Lenten season, I'll just share with you my family and I do during Lent. Every weekend, our way of spending time together, we watch the movies of the lives of Jesus, Mama Mary, and the saints. And you can also watch them not just on YouTube, but in forum.org. And I always dream of making a movie of a saint portraying the life of Saint Rita de Cassia, for example. So just to recap, again, choose the people who will lead you closer to Jesus and will lead you to heaven. Remember that God's rules will never be outdated. Never malalaos yung mga sinasabi ni God. So when someone tells you, masyado naman pawok to, or like, masyado naman religious to, yoko na nga sa'yo. Guys, don't listen to them. What you need to do is you need to pray for them, for their own conversion. Because they're blind to the truth about God. They don't know who God is, kaya nila nasasabi yung mga bagay na yun. So that's why you need to be a good example to the people around you. Be a reflection of who Jesus is. And wag niyong hahayaan na pati kayo maging corrupted and distorted yung pag-iisip ninyo. So I urge everyone to be an authentic Bosconian. Don't be fake. Be a lover of truth. Be a lover of honesty and integrity. Stop pleasing other people. Kaya wala kayong mapapala dun. Who you need to please is God. Jesus is truly our greatest and most trusted friend who will never betray or abandon us. Make Jesus the center of all your relationships. And let me show you one of my favorite quotes from Don Bosco. He said, and I quote, "Fly from bad companions as from the bite of a poisonous snake. If you keep good companions, I can assure you that you will one day rejoice with the blessed in heaven. Whereas if you keep with those who are bad, you will become bad yourself, and you will be in danger of losing your soul." End of quote. I hope you learned something from my experiences so that you would not be making the same mistakes. I urge every one of you to keep fighting the good fight, to run the race to the finish, and to keep your faith with your godly family and friends by your side. Stay woke, guys. Stay woke. Again, this is Ate Marge, your fellow Bosconian. Thank you, everyone, for listening to my sharing. God bless you all and have a great summer.